also not into poetry. I can give you a second one.
Poetry is actually very dead. To be honest. You don't have a lot of readers for poetry as much as you do have for novels.
But that's always been the case, right?
Not really. Poetry actually had, in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, poetry was like at peak. Undressed? So this book was actually written in 2014, like when I was 13 years old, actually.
Okay.
But I never published it because I had that teenager insecurity, like, what if people are going to judge me? Because I had initially showed this book to one of my teachers, and they read it, and they were like, you're too young to be expressing all of it, because it's domestic violence and social issues and stuff. And they're like, where does all of it come from? And they're like, are you going through it? And I'm like, no, it's not personal, but it's something that I feel like people don't talk about. And they're like, you're just 13 and you have a lot of emotions in you. So I was like, what if other people judge me the same way? So I kind of didn't publish the book. I kept it there. And then when COVID hit, it was like the best time for me. I had a lot of time on my plate, and I just went ahead with Isotope first. And then I came out with Undressed, yeah.
So do you not feel like you could have just published Undressed on a pen de plume?
I could have, but I was like, you know what, let me just put a novel out there that's not related to social issues, or that's nothing to do with domestic abuse or mental illness.
How would anyone know it was you if you've used a pen de plume? You know what a pen de plume is, first of all.
I know.
Okay.
But I just wanted to like put myself out there.
Okay.
So I've always been fascinated by a few subjects like physics, or I'm into biology, or I'm into literature. So I was like, let's go sciencey, let's go all nerdy, let's go just put it out there. And I just went out with this concept I had in my head. I penned down Isotope within 3 months and got it published. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Now that the book's out there, let me just put another one. If people are going to judge, they're going to judge.
So was Isotope then self-published, or was Isotope then...
No, it wasn't self-published. I had an agent for it.
Oh, fantastic. And how did that work out for you? So it took me 3 months to write Isotope.
Yeah.
And in that 3 months, what kind of writing style did you use?
So my writing style, to be honest, is very raw, and it's very simplistic. I don't use a lot of complicated words.
Marketing and more marketing. Go on, tell me. What does that mean, raw? Okay.
So it means that my target audience is usually the teenagers.
Okay.
Because I think literature has to be out there for them more than anyone else. That's your building block. Like, that's when you have to develop this habit of reading and, get into books. And that's my point of view for it.
Okay.
So yeah, I started off, so basically I'll just give you a backstory for Isotope, the whole scenario going on in the book. So it's about an alternate dimension, right? And in this dimension, it has everything like Earth, except for the fact that the things don't react to you the same way things would on Earth.
This is the Isotope one?
Yeah. So Isotope basically means that it has the same chemical formula, but a different atomic number, right? And that's what the book is. It has this. That means it's alike to Earth, but it has a different
frequency.
Exactly. So you need to know that to enter into this alternate dimension, there are certain things that you have to go through.
Sorry, I just lost the train of my thought now. So the Isotope one is the poetry book, but it's set in a different dimension?
No, it's not the poetry book. It's a science fiction novel.
Okay, Undressed is the...
Yes.
Okay, now you understand why I looked at you so confused. I was like, wait, what? Why? Okay. I was like, that's so avant-garde. I'm going to write a poetry book set around a different dimension. I was like, what? Okay, so which one do you want to start with? You want to start with the first one, I assume, which would be Isotope. Yeah. It's set in a world that is in a separate dimension.
Exactly.
So basically sort of like string theory.
Kinda.
Okay.
Right? And it's actually all of my novels that I've written so far, unpublished or the published one, they all have a female protagonist. Right? Just doing a bit of feminism there. So it is centered around an entire female character who initially enters into this alternate dimension, right? And she wants to go back home. She wants to come back to Earth, but she does not know how. And she does figure out how to come back to Earth, and she does return. but time and space works differently. So she enters back to Earth and she sees this whole scarcity of food and a lot of issues going on Earth, and she wants to go back.
Interesting.
Right? So it's a
Okay.
trilogy, by the way, just letting you know. So
Okay, so where are we right now with the character? What's her name?
her name's Ava Williams.
What?
Ava Williams.
Ava Williams.
Right.
And why Ava and why Williams? Where did this come from?
I think it's this character I've been really obsessed with as a child. Most of my writing has come out from things of obsession in childhood.
Okay.
I'm not sure which book it was, but I was really in the library in the school and I was reading this book, and this character literally caught my eye in the book.
Okay.
And I've still been looking for that book. I don't know the name, but I've been looking for this character. She's just like in my head. I know how she looks. I know how she talks. So I wanted her name at least. So I just took the name, built my own character, and put her in the book.
Okay, so the Ava Williams is a homage to
Yes.
your favorite character from a book that you don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So this Ava, give me some backstory on this Ava character.
She is an electrical engineer, and she's working at this, what do I say? She's working in a place, right, which generates electricity for half of the Earth.
Okay.
In her time zone, right? When she's
in
on
her
planet
dimension.
Earth. Yeah, in her dimension, right? And so the generator basically goes supercharged, and this dimension opens up into which she is transported. And initially, she doesn't understand. It takes her time to understand what is happening around her and the things that she has to adapt to.
And how scientific do you go with it?
Really scientific.
Okay, so
You have species with alternating DNAs.
Okay.
And you have kingdoms going down there. You have terms that
Okay.
are not there in literature, but you'll only find an isotope, like names of certain creatures
Okay.
or certain trees
Okay.
or people over there, how there are people there.
Okay.
But she doesn't know that. And she eventually finds it out, that
Okay.
this entire life situated there.
I mean, I to like punch a hole in the space-time continuum would take something like 1,000 suns. So that's why I'm wondering, like, how exactly scientific are you going with it? And even if you would somehow rupture a hole, just from the radiation alone would kill you, and the suction would mean that every single atom of yours would be torn apart. That's the scariest
That's
thing about
how
a black
it
hole.
works. But
Okay.
the best part about science fiction is you can create your own world without actually obeying.
The physical
Yeah,
laws. That's why I was wondering how
Exactly.
scientific do you go with it. Okay. Okay. So because you have to have like a position of disbelief,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise
That's
you're
all
in
about
trouble.
science fiction.
Okay. So the character, like, accident happens, electric house, snap. Is it like elongated process of her trying to get out of the electric?
Yeah.
Okay. But she knows it's like inevitable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know what, I didn't read the book, so I'm trying to figure it out.
So she has to eventually give up.
Okay.
Also, it's kind of cool how, like, you know that this isn't scientifically possible, but you're just giving it to your readers and you're like, you have to believe it because I've written it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that thing about science fiction has me, like, keen for it.
Okay, telling people.
Yeah,
what
like-
to do. Okay. I think readers have a very loud voice, so they'll start messaging very quickly. So who's your favorite author?
I love R.L. Stein, Khalid Hosseini, who is definitely nowhere around my genre, but I am a big fan of him.
Danny, can you look up Khalid Hussaini?
Is an Afghanis, like he's an Afghan.
He's not
born
related to
writer.
Hussein Husseini, right?
No. He's written Thousand Splendid Suns, Kite Runner.
Dan almost died laughing. UHCR Goodwill, novelist, physician, debut. The Kite Runner and critical and commercial success. The book subsequently novel has been at least popularity in Afghanistan, featured an Afghani as a protagonist. Okay, born 1965. Okay, I'll give it a read.
Yeah, the thing about him is that all of his books have the same protagonist, and it's the country itself.
Okay. Oh, the country's the protagonist.
Yeah.
Isn't that how the book Dune works?
No.
You've read Dune?
Yeah.
Isn't Dune like the protagonist, the planet?
Yeah, I mean, every book has a protagonist. It is supposed
And an
to have.
antagonist. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Okay.
exactly. It's supposed
I mean,
to
I've
happen.
done writing 101. Okay, yes.
Right. So for Dune, yeah, it is it's the surroundings, the environment.
Okay, that's the world building.
Yeah.
But because I don't know, have you read Dune 1, Dune 2?
Dune 1.
Because from what I've heard, I haven't read it. I couldn't be. I didn't even watch the movie when it came out in 1960 something.
Movies or books?
I couldn't bother. If I couldn't be bothered to read it, I'm not going to watch the show of it.
What do
Or
you
the movie.
prefer? Movies or books?
Oh, books.
Okay.
Yes.
Except for a few.
Yes. The Shining is a good example.
Are you a Potterhead by any chance?
No.
Okay.
I've never read it. Never. I think I've only like watched like out of number.
Not in the sequence.
Not in the sequence.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't. Neither Lord of the Rings either.
I mean, J.K. Rowling is. I think it was every teenager's like go-to, like read Harry Potter.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're different generations, mind you. For me, it was those horror stories.
Arlstein.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
What was it like? The boy who turned into a dog.
Also, Fear Street. All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they even have a film on it, a movie on it, right?
I remember reading those as a kid. Did you read anything from Stephen King?
It.
Oh, you read it?
Yeah, I read it.
How did you find it?
I think the movie's better than the book.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't believe you. How many pages does it have?
I don't count the number of pages, but 300 or something like that.
No, it's close to 500.
It has a lot of phases. I don't count the number of phases.
I'm asking you because that's such a surprising response to me.
Because I'll tell you why. I think the book has dragged it longer.
I remember I was in a jacuzzi reading the book because I just wanted to get it like finished, and I remember like in hot water getting the chills because of how scared I was.
I mean, yeah. If you are like, yeah, I would say the book is. I'm not saying it's not good. It's good. It's just like it's dragging. It's like dragged it so much.
Okay.
The movies kept it short and like it's got to the point. Like, yeah, this is the book. Like, this is all.
There's like part 1 and part 2 for a movie. That's like
Part 1's better though.
that's like what 6 hours? I think it's like 2.5 hours. The movie, isn't it?
And that would be like.
Yeah, it's 6 hours.
25 days of reading.
I guess.
Yeah.
So do you have so you only read one of the Stephen King's novels then?
Yeah, I think. I've read. If you've given me names, I'll tell you.
I'm trying to remember. There's another. There's the guy. I'm trying to remember his name. Heart-shaped box.
There's one more something something with sleep or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've read that.
There's Doctor Sleep,
Doctor Sleep, exactly.
which is meant to be a follow-up to The Shining.
Yes.
I didn't read it because I've read some of the reviews about it and it really put me off.
What do you read usually?
My favorite author
Yeah.
to date, Woody Allen,
Okay.
hands down. Have you read anything from Woody Allen?
No.
You are incredibly missing out.
What genre is it?
Fiction, I would say, but in a weird way.
Okay. I'll give it a read.
Woody Allen has this amazing talent. He has like I'll try to reconstruct very poorly a sentence in one of his books. I think it was like Light as a Feather or whatever. John was a bear of a man. In fact, when the bears were sick, he would often be invited to the bear camp to be there for the local kids. It makes zero sense as like a paragraph, or he was like, what was it like? He talks about like some hard-hitting like prisoner, and he says on the left arm on Dave's left arm was peace, respect, and love. On the right of his arm was printing error, disregard left arm.
Okay, it's very descriptive. I like how it's being like specific.
It's just so contrarian. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how to describe Woody Allen. Can we look up what Woody Allen books are like? What kind of genre would it fall into?
It's
That's Annie Hall as a movie, buddy. Just put side effect.
Oh, it's comical. Yeah, weirdly fiction. I would take that.
Pardon me?
I would take weird fiction as the genre.
For you, it's weird fiction? Or you're saying the book is weird fiction?
Yeah. I mean, because it's comical. So
I guess.
So basically she is an immigrant in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she usually writes about how her life has been centered around like Punjab and Canada.
All right, I'll read it out to the audio listeners. What terrifies me the most is how we form at the mouth with envy when others succeed, but sigh in relief when they are failing. Our struggle to celebrate each other is what's proven most difficult in being human.
Okay.
Preface this to, I will show you fear and a handful of dust.
Okay, you can.
I mean, that's not even like, that's like grade school versus a doctorate.
Okay, do you want to read me?
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, do you want to read me from my profile, or do you want me to read something from?
Sure. Wait, is this like non-poet reviews poet? Here, I'll let you read it out.
Okay, cool. Maybe you would want to switch to one of my favorites.
Dad, you didn't pick out the best one.
Just scroll down and yeah, a bit more down. The pink one there, yeah. So this one's actually titled by How to Swallow Love Without Choking on It, right? So when love decides to die and you want to keep it alive on days when you're cold but actually warm, and you sit by the fireplace burning letters, flowers, and everything but firewood, wishing you could burn your love like that firewood. When you know you have to let go, but you start choking on memories, then you are on the battlefield fighting yourself, each other, and your mouths are filled with blood. You want to kiss them, but you can't. This is your last minute in heaven, and you've nearly choked yourself to death. But you won't let go because swallowing love is easier than spitting blood. Okay,
wait. Wait, what?
Okay, I'll give you the whole concept.
No, I'm trying to decombobulate it, right?
Okay.
Because you preface the first paragraph by saying, when love decides to die and you want to keep it. And you preface, or not the right word, the antagonist. What's the opposite when like...
Contrasting.
The contraster, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is you want this is the last minute in heaven. You've nearly choked yourself to death. Do you understand? It almost feels like those are two different paragraphs that you fused together.
Exactly, but at the end, they make sense. It's like mind tricks. Like I'm giving you like, yeah, you know what? I want to let go, right? I want to do this, but I'm giving you a contrast to it. Like, what if? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do the easier thing.
What? I don't understand your writing style. Give me a second. Explain it to me, okay? Because do you purposely?
Yeah. It's there in all my poems, if you see.
Warm yourself by sitting in a fireplace, burning letters, flowers and everything. Flowers and everything.
But firewood.
Don't you think it would be more of an impactful, why am I critiquing your English? I was about to say the fireplace burning letters, comma, flowers, comma, and everything, full stop, but a preface, like to make the but more powerful. But I don't know if you went in like that kind of detail into your literature.
No, but...
Okay, so we understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll ignore all that. But firewood is washing. You could burn your love like firewood. Full stop. When you know you have to let go, but you start choking on memories. When love decides to die and you want to keep it alive, when you are cold cut, when you are warm and you sit by a fireplace burning letters. You know who you remind me of?
No.
Type in then man a machine. Man a machine.
Like that?
Yeah. by Julianne Offrey de la Mettrie. This is the only other author that I literally had to like read a paragraph and be like, yes, it makes sense, but it takes like a lot of like deliberate thinking, which is good. I mean, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, like all my poems have that. There is my point of view. There is a contrast, and then when you read it collectively, it makes sense.
Yes. Okay. Sense. Can I read the end paragraph again? Sorry, then maybe it'll click in my brain. And you want to kiss them, but you can't. This is your last minute in heaven, and you've nearly choked yourself to death. That counter between the two gets my head hurting. Okay, but you won't let go because swallowing love is easier than spitting blood. I like the last sentence.
Yeah, because like you're choking, and I expect you to understand like the spitting blood part. So swallowing easier than spitting blood.
And who's your main target audience that you're getting mostly with this?
This one, my poetry. It's targeted to anyone who can relate.
Okay. So you don't have like
I don't have like an age group. Anyone who can relate.
Well, this was going to be my next question before we like deviated into poetry. Was who do you write for yourself or do you write for an audience?
I write for an audience.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because most of my writing, as I've said it multiple times, is centered about issues that I can totally not relate to. But I have people. It started off like. As a child, like I would write and stuff, and yeah, the school thing happened, and I got my recognition there, and then I had the whole book. I didn't publish, and then initially during the COVID phase, what happened is I had people approach me. I don't know why, but I'm glad they did, and tell me about things like, yeah, you know, this happened, and I kind of had all this anger built up, and I wanted to vent it out, but positively. So.
This was how old were you at this point?
I was 17, 18.
But your poetry book you wrote when you were 13.
Yeah.
So did those people tell you while you were 12?
I've had friends, and it's like things I see, and also Netflix and YouTube and all these, you know.
I mean, there's not a lot of stuff. What are you watching on Netflix? What are you watching on YouTube?
You know, all this.
Love Actually? What are you talking about?
You know, all these documentaries on psychopaths and.
Okay.
How to Get Away with a Murder.
Okay.
Yeah, so those kind of stuff. And yeah, pretty much that.
So you're a big horror fan then?
Yeah. Horror fiction and science fiction. I'm more like big time fan.
Is the next book then a horror book?
Actually, yeah. And I am working on another poetry book, which is called Simon Says. I think I'm going to put it out soon. And this book is really personal to me because this is something I want to write. And it's not for the audience, it's for me. Simon Says, do you know what Simon Says is? The game.
Yes.
Right? It's like you have the person who tells you, Simon Says, walk 2 steps. Simon Says, do this.
Sure.
Right? So for the book, Simon Says is controlled by the people. So people ask you to do this. People ask you to do that.
Oh, so Simon is in this sentence the
world, like the people who want...
The community.
Yeah, the community.
Okay.
Right? And they
society is the word.
The society, exactly. And it's my point of view of what...
That's pretty clever. I like that.
Yeah, what they want to say to me and what I want to do. Right? So the book is based around that.
That's very lateral thinking. I like that. That's clever. That's clever. And is it going to be a poetry book or is it going
it's going to be a poetry book.
Interesting. And it's going to be based on this like character?
It's going to be it has a few I can actually read you something that'll it'll make some sense. So all my poetry books have like an opening poem, right?
Okay.
And I'll just read you the opening poem for Simon Says.
Do you do haikus as well?
Yeah.
You do haikus?
I do haikus as well.
Okay.
Right. So, I miss how my body belonged to me, but now it belongs to the society. I feel like I'm playing a game of Simon Says as you control every step of my life. Simon Says you're pretty, but you could be lighter, thinner, and even better. Simon Says conceal your acne. Simon Says body hair isn't acceptable to men. Simon Says diet, diet, diet. Eat this, not that. No carbs, no sugar, no processed food. Keto helps get rid of fat. All this constant nagging, fault-finding, grumbling, criticizing, carping, shrivish cavilling makes me feel repugnance. It hurts my body and soul being chained in this earthly body in a multiverse where body shaming is something people unknowingly or knowingly do. But I'll continue to listening to what Simon says.
Why did you bring the word multiverse into this?
That
was just filler.
I believe that there can be multiple universes out there. So
sure, but you don't need to like isn't the beauty of the don't you feel like beauty at the most like perfect or the most beautiful is when there's not a single vowel, not a single word in excess to it, when it's as streamlined.
It's just like left there.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I know I get it.
Like that like when it's just like literally where there's nothing else you can take away from it. No? Maybe?
I mean, I think everyone has their point of view. Mine kind of differs from yours.
Okay. I mean, I just find it interesting because I get where your point is about 2/3 of the way in it.
Yeah.
And it feels like the rest of it is just indulgence.
It's
maybe?
like, yeah, exactly. You're getting at it.
I mean, I don't know. I've only heard I've only heard two of your poems.
It's like the whole point of it is like, yeah, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is what you're like not supposed to do. And at the end, it's like, I know it's kind of like, it's not good. It makes you feel like probably shitty or crap, but I'm going to do it anyways. Right. Because
sure. But you leave, Simon says, into a negative avenue, which is fine.
The whole point of it being that even though we know that we shouldn't be bothered by what people say, we somewhere take it personally and we kind of get to it. We take it. Like we get, like, well, if someone says, you know what, you need to lose weight, at some point it's like, maybe I am fat. Maybe I need to lose weight.
I get where you're coming from, but what I'm trying to say is that you build this very dark, you bring this into a very dark alley, and I think it would be a more interesting poem if you had flickers of light.
Like leave it at the positive note.
No, not leaving a positive note. Leaving it at end negative. That's fine. But when Simon says, for example, don't eat carbs, it's because really biology-wise, it is better for you. Do you get what I mean? It's not so much because.
But if you want carbs, you get carbs.
Yeah, but do you not feel like when Simon says, I don't know, women shouldn't be engineers, is something very different than if Simon says, don't eat carbs?
Yeah.
No, maybe? Like if Simon says, don't eat sugar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But the first opening poem is based upon, it's based upon the body image thingy. That's why it brings up things related to acne and concealing.
Yep. I got that.
Yeah.
I got that. But do you not think there's a core? I don't know. I feel like it would be a more interesting poem if the stage actress, I don't know, if the personification, whoever is that like being that Simon says is talking to, I don't know what you would call that, protagonist if you want. If they're confused by whether what Simon says is both positive and negative, isn't that more interesting time of our like zeitgeist?
I mean, I read to have my own perception. So if I'm reading something, and I mean, if you read a poem, you can have a different perception, and I can have a different one.
We're miscommunicating.
Yes.
I'm saying is that don't you feel like in a larger sense that people right now more than ever before don't really trust the fundamental I forgot the word, the fundamental agencies. It's not agencies. Like schools, teachers, police. What are they called, Dan?
Enforcement, law enforcement?
No. When you stop believing in like the structure of the system in society.
Outlaws.
Huh?
Outlaws?
No, not the person who then like if you think like old school is going to teach you nonsense, all the police is never going to catch the bad guy or only going to hurt people. You know, when you initiatives, no, when you stop believing in your, oh my God, it's the tip of my tongue. When you stop believing in your, oh, come to me, fuck.
I get the whole point of it's like It makes sense, yeah.
No, what I'm just saying, like in a larger sense, that people cannot trust or believe anymore the information that is being given to them. If that makes sense. Be it like, think about like wearing masks, not wearing masks. COVID's over. COVID's not over. This is good for you. This is bad for you. Yada yada yada. Ad infinitum.
But at the same time, like I get what you're saying. But at the same time, like I don't think there's a lot of like I asked you, like when I asked you for authors, you can give me probably 10 names. But when I asked you for poets, you could just think of one.
Because I'm also not into poetry. I can give you a second one.
Poetry is actually very dead. To be honest. You don't have a lot of readers for poetry as much as you do have for novels.
But that's always been the case, right?
Not really. Poetry actually had, in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, poetry was like at peak.
I was about to be really impressed. I thought you were going to make a reference to the Dead Poets Society, which is a fantastic movie. And I was like, oh, she's going to go. Like, I thought you were going to take me down that avenue. And I was like, oh. Okay,
no, but actually, poetry was at peak then. And then it kind of like went down. I think it's because not everyone can interpret what the poet wants to say. Like, poetry is very sophisticated. Depends on who you're reading. For instance, I don't know if
that I definitely agree with, yeah.
Yeah, like if you've read Sylvia Plath, I'm not sure if you... So
Can you type her in, Danny? Sylvia Plath? You should read Man and Machine.
I will now.
It is such a complicated, dense piece of writing. It is unbelievable. You've read Odysseus?
No.
Let's take a break for a cigarette.
Sometimes I just feel like I want to like give my character superhuman strength.
Okay.
And then I'm like, no, we just have to stick to the story.
Okay.
Don't wander around. Just let it be what it is.
Do any of your characters have any kind of like Mary Sue problem?
So actually, fun fact, the book, like it goes around Ava Williams, and then there are...
Isn't that Hitler's wife?
Ava Williams?
Yeah. That was an interesting name that you chose.
It kind of like, it's like...
Can you type in Hitler's wife? I thought her name was Williams or Eva.
Hitler's...
Eva Braun, very close. Okay.
Close, yeah.
Look at that. I have the first name.
No.
Next character right there. Next character name. There you go.
So yeah, Ava Williams have like, there are a lot of other people who entered the dimension eventually, and they kind of meet her. And they discover that Isotope is what I call the alternate dimension there.
Okay.
The alternate dimension I've named as Isotope.
And what did they name their current dimension?
The Earth, like...
Oh, so
it's Earth.
so for them...
It's Earth, and the alternate dimension actually has a name for the people who already live there.
And they call it?
They call it the PSR 15.
Base what?
PSR 15.
Okay, is there any specific reference why you chose that?
Yeah, so the 15 and the PSR basically stands for an eclipse.
Okay.
That occurs every 15 days.
Okay.
So every 15 days you have this fog that summons the alternate dimension, and you have... The fog is basically deadly.
I feel like I have to read this book now
Yeah,
in
you
order
should.
to I'll buy it on Amazon and I'll this is a sell pitch. So if you're interested from this aspect of it, read Isotopes. It's available on Amazon. You can get it on your Kindle. And how many pages is it?
It's 200.
So 200. You can finish that in about 3 hours.
Yeah, if you are a quick reader.
Okay, so about 3 to 6 hours. Leave some comments and tell us what to ask next, because I mean I feel like there's so much to unpack here.
Okay, I'll give you some more unpacking, right? So when they get down, like when they all meet up together, they actually realize that the Isotope has segregations. There are 4 kingdoms down there. Like kingdoms as in you have a whole ice kingdom, you have a whole desert nation, you have the whole the greenery area, and you have an unknown region. And the trilogy has to go on because when they come back, they're not coming back alone. There's a whole like earthly hand in it. there's this whole institution that's involved in coming back to this alternate dimension to find food and enough space for people to live.
So it's going to build up to a war then.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't know that the alternate dimension is like, it's not like what they think it is supposed to be like. They think it's gonna be easy peasy. They're gonna go down there. Yeah, there's space. They're gonna build things, and they have their force and everything. They're gonna live there. But that's not the case.
And do you? Because I remember reading about Stephen King. He talked about his process of how he writes, and he said that it's like he said it. He described it as sitting by in a. I can't get my words together. He said it's like sitting in a forest and building a campfire, and that each of your characters that you have are a piece of wood that you burn. Oh, you heard it as well.
Yeah, I've heard it as well.
Yeah. So do you feel like that's the same writing process, or yours is different?
So mine is kind of like I have a whole world I live in. And in this world, I like to create scenarios. And if I'm like, okay, you know what? I kind of like that one. I'm going to put it in a book.
Okay.
That's how it works for me.
Okay.
And I have this whole bubble that sometimes, you're going to be sometimes it's like we're going to be talking, right? And my mind is going to be here, but also somewhere else. I'm building scenarios and I'm like, yeah, maybe this would work. And if it works, it's going to be a next book for me.
Okay. What a weird way of structuring it. So are you characters that you have in your book based on people then in your life?
Yeah, but just more like animated versions of them.
Okay, so you just tune up their personalities.
Yeah, I just tune up and I give them things that I want to give them. I'm like, okay, have you just judge a person and you're like, oh, I love everything, but they should have this. I do that.
Again, sorry to bring up Stephen King, but when he almost got killed by a truck driver, in one of his books, he made that truck driver the villain.
So yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like I meet people, and if I find someone, I rarely find someone interesting. If I find someone interesting, I give them the protagonist role in my books. And if I don't, I give them some role.
So who's the antagonist then in your story?
In Isotope, it's this guy. Okay, his name is David. And the whole point of him is to come and inhabit Isotope.
What?
He wants.
Where's David from? Is he from Earth then?
He's from Earth.
Okay.
Okay, and Ava knows his intentions, and what she does she sells her story, but half of it.
Okay.
She does not tell her the bad part. She does not tell him the bad
Did
part.
you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Isn't David the nickname for Adolf?
That was
that
was unintentional. I literally.
Okay, I was like, this is a weird
Hitler's spies
neo-Nazi stuff going on. You already have Ava, Ava Williams, and you've got Adolf as well. What a coincidence! And they're going there to conquer the world. How weird!
Yeah, the husband and the wife duo. No.
No, I'm lying. I don't think his nickname was David.
No, better not be.
So this David dude is in Earth. Was he the guy who was running the power plant?
Yeah.
And he planned that accident to happen?
No.
Okay, so he's not super intelligent.
He was no. It was just a coincidence. But now what he wants is he wants power, right?
Why?
Everyone wants power.
Okay.
I mean, everyone wants power in whatever field you're doing or whatever you want to achieve, right?
Do you feel like the character would be more fulfilled if he had a bigger reason or existence?
He does. You have to read the book.
When am I supposed to read book 2 and 3? It's not even finished written yet. It's still in the process.
Just read 1.
Okay, and then
stay on hold.
Okay.
And then I'll get 2 and 3.
Okay. Well, read. What was it? Jacob's. What was it? Hero's Journey. Jacob something.
Yeah, the one you said earlier. I'll give it a read.
It's really important, especially from a writer perspective.
Yeah, I'll give it a read.
Do you write your beginning with the ending?
No, to be honest. Okay, so about my novels, I have the way I start, even in my poetry, the books, the way I start is the way I end. So I'll give you so Isotope begins with this line. So Isotope doesn't begin from Earth. It begins in the alternate dimension and the backstory.
Okay.
Okay. So the book basically has.
We're miscommunicating, but go on.
Yeah. The book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The book kind of goes like the opening line is the little greens I saw yesterday suddenly don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Okay. The algae, fungi, and the shrubs are gone.
Okay.
And this has been happening for quite some time now.
Okay.
So basically what she's describing is like she was just new to the isotope and she didn't understand why all the greens around her were disappearing. It was due to the fog, by the way, just to make sense.
Okay.
The eclipse, right?
Okay.
And the book ends by the same sentence.
Okay.
And if you read it, it'll make sense. Why does it end with the same context?
Okay.
Because when she opens up her eyes as the book ends, she is back in Earth.
Sure. So it's a full circle then.
Yeah, it's a full circle.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way it opens is the way it ends.
Sure.
And I do it for all my books.
Don't you think it's more interesting to use a thesaurus
Why so?
and just having so that it's not an exact copy between the ending and the beginning? It's not by verbatim. Do you get what I'm saying?
No.
So it requires like a little bit of like, you know? No.
No.
So instead of using the word, I don't know, fungus, mushroom, instead of using the word fog, sandstorm. So like when you read that last sentence, you're like, oh, that's like, okay. So they
yeah,
get
it
that.
makes sense.
No, you're not interested.
It does. It makes sense. Also, like I mentioned it earlier, that there are terms that are not there in the literature.
So you made up words.
I made up words.
Sure.
Because it's supposed to like at least be like you know, when I actually gave out the book for editing, I had many editors initially, and then finally like I went with Fatima Salim. So they were editing and they were like
Say that louder. That you can get your rates down.
oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Then you can be like, yeah, you get your commission a little lower on their behalf, right? You're advertising for it. That's the way you have to think about it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll leave that to you.
No, that's how it's done. That's how it's done, right?
Yeah,
that's how you get the agent's fees a little lower. You give them good publicity.
So they're editing it, right? And I think it was like 5 or 6 days in, and one of the editors got back to me and they're like, what does this mean? I literally Googled it and I went through the dictionary. I couldn't find the word. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry to give you the context, but there are words that are made up and there's a whole dictionary for it at the end of the book. Mm-hmm. So you can just like refer. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, okay. And then the others who were editing, they came up to me and with the same thing. And they were like, what does it mean? And I was like, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense and I should take it off, right? And then I asked a few of the members in my team and I was like, do you think I should just take it off and maybe put something that people can relate to? And they're like, no, that's gonna keep them curious. Like, what does it mean? They're gonna actually Google it up and be like, oh, it's not a word. So it has to be something. And then you can make, like, there is a dictionary, there is a glossary at the end. So they're gonna refer and be like, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. Now I know what it means.
Do you make up just words or also sayings?
Sayings.
Give me a saying you made
I have
up.
a whole different language in the isotope, by the way.
How do you find the time to do that? Sorry, what? Okay, what? Is it like a structured language or is it just like a cat on a keyboard?
It's actually a structured language.
What?
Yeah. And
You sound like those two creeps who were online and they made up like their own language. It was like, what blue blue blue.
you called me a creep.
I mean, you came up with your own language. Where do you have the time to do that?
Oh, God.
Okay.
And
What is it, like Klingon? That would have been a good reference.
no, actually, if you read, and actually for the language as well, I have a glossary at the end.
For the languages as well.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write this book? 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months.
And in 3 months you wrote your own language?
Yeah.
I will not believe that. Give me a sentence.
En zij cooking,
Okay.
which means
I like cooking.
no, which means I will behead you.
Okay. All that because I said the cream. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did this language part come into this?
I am actually into languages, and I speak a lot of different languages as well.
Okay.
So
English?
I speak English, Farsi, Hindi, Kashmiri, Marathi, Malayalam. I speak a bunch of different languages.
Okay, but all of them are based on the same root language.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You can debate me on that.
They're very close to connected.
Nowhere close.
Yes, they are.
Some of them, yeah. Okay, I'll give Kashmiri and Farsi into you.
Okay. I mean, that's like arguing with me like Latin and English are separate. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, French, Italian, Spanish, and Latin is all the same. Who speaks Latin? Every scientist.
I'm not a scientist yet.
Okay. Okay. What's the name for a snake?
In my language?
No, just in English.
In English? A name for a snake?
Yeah, just what?
As in a breed?
No, just as a snake. What other words could you use for snake?
Slytherin.
What else? Something.
Basilisk.
What about serpent?
Serpent.
And where does the word serpent come from?
Latin.
Latin. There we go. Almost all animals are named after Latin words.
Give me some.
Other than serpent?
Yeah.
Hippo?
Okay. Really?
Yeah. Is hippo a Latin word?
I believe it is, yeah.
Plus, Latin is super interesting.
Do you speak any of the Latin words?
Est hippo.
Okay.
Is hippo Greek or Latin? Let's find out. Once and for all.
Okay.
Imperial Latin. There we go. And ultimately from an ancient Greek.
Okay, so you have...
The Greeks gotta get themselves in
It's like
there.
a contrast there.
They gotta go deep. They gotta go in.
They gotta put a leg in there.
That's good. That's good for the ancient Greek. Good for them.
Yeah, so I didn't go like, you know what, I am interested in languages, so I want to create my own language out there. But it was like, what if I had a new language? It would be fun for the readers. So I put in a new language.
But don't you think it would have been more fun to have like a very popular language that doesn't exist?
Like what?
Whatever that Star Trek language is. What's the Star Trek language called then? People have like weddings in it.
I mean, you can always start a new trend, right?
Fine, but you don't have to Klingon. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I know. If you can.
Okay, I mean, spend your energy writing the other two books or reading more books or doing something else, right?
I mean, it's fun. Like, imagine, like, you've created a whole new language.
Listen, I'm not arguing against it. I'm saying that's great. I'm saying maybe it's have Klingon.
It's just like you could save time.
Yeah, you can definitely save time just using Klingon. And the people reading it will be like, wait, is that Klingon? Wouldn't that be? Especially since you're writing for them. You're not writing for you.
Yeah. But it's also kind of cool to have your own language, I believe.
Fine, have it. I'm not going to take it away from you. It's already printed, whatever. Good. Okay, so you wrote your own language. We talked a little bit about the book. Mm-hmm. Let's get a little bit more into your writing style. How do you write?
Okay, are we talking about the science fiction? Or are we talking about poetry in general? Or in general?
So let's start with scientific and then poetry.
Okay, I can't write scientific if I don't have a lot of time on my plate. Like, I need to sit, I have the characters built, I have everything. It's just that I need to process everything because everything has to make sense. Sometimes you mention things that are like 20 years before, like back in time. And then when you're writing, you have to be like, oh, they should click. Like, it shouldn't be like you missed out something. So I need a lot of time to write when I'm writing science fiction or horror fiction. But when it comes to poetry, it's like usually, like I'm a medical student. So like when I'm studying or in the university or like doing my thing, sometimes in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, how are you not failing your exams? What's going on? How are you doing medicine while writing, while researching, while writing your own language? Sorry. And what language is this? This new language, what alphabet does it use?
It uses English alphabets.
Ooh, you're still using the English language, aren't you? You didn't go full wild. You didn't make up your own.
Well, you want me to make my own alphabets and then it'll be difficult to like input it while typing? How do I type that?
Handwrite it. Stylist.
It's a good idea.
There we go.
But now I can't change it. It's out there.
Well, you can re-release the book at a later date.
I'll keep that at the back of my head. Right. So like when I'm doing my medical stuff, usually when I'm doing my medical stuff, it comes then like I have this, thought in my head like, oh, that person said that. Why don't I make it into a poem? And I'm like, but I'm doing something important, right? Or sometimes it's like I'm studying for an exam or I'm having like a massive burnout, and I'm like, I can't stop doing what I'm doing. I should continue. So I just like take my phone, I just record the whole idea, the concept behind the poem I'm going to write, and I'm going to just like leave it. And then when I'm done doing what I'm doing, I just go back to it. I'm like, yeah, just type it down.
When you read, do you write in between the columns?
Yeah,
I do that too.
it helps.
I don't know if it helps. I just like the idea. I don't know who where I heard it from, but you'll never read the book the first time ever again. So when I'm reading the first time the book and things that are like really popping to me, I write like in 5 W's.
Okay.
Right? Like why, when, where, what. I was like, okay, I was in this location, this place, blah, 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 blah. And then so I can almost like capture that like thought that I had.
In your head, yeah.
And so when I look back on it and I'm not reading like a paragraph, I'm like, what the fuck does this?
Exactly. That's why I say it helps, like actually writing down, it helps.
And you're doing what kind of medicine?
I'm doing currently, like I'm pursuing MBBS right now. And after this, I go for my specialization.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're 3 years in?
Yeah, I'm 3 years in. 2 more years left.
2 more years left. And then you're going to try to practice medicine here?
I am currently studying in Iran.
Okay.
And then I might shift somewhere else.
Okay. Why do I have to write? I'll just stop. But again, it comes back to the same question of why from the beginning didn't you just use a pen de plume? Or why don't you use a pen de plume for your more like out there stuff?
I'm not really a big fan of the idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Stephen King's son did it. I don't know why I'm bringing Stephen King up for the whole conversation.
I think you're kind of obsessed with Stephen King.
I've only read like 2 books of his, but I know everything
like
about this
mentioned
man.
him 10 times already. You're kind of like obsessed with him.
I don't know.
Do you even like him?
Not as much as Woody Allen. I know a lot about Woody
What's
Allen.
your favorite book?
Light as a Feather. No, The Prince.
Woody Allen?
Nope. Marcus Aurelius. Not Marcus. Oh, On Meditation. Marcus Aurelius is maybe my favorite book. Or it could be Prince by Machiavelli. Never heard of it.
No, I've not. I'm more into the poetry stuff. I'm more into the
How about we do like a student exchange?
Okay.
Right? I will give you some of my favorite books. You give me some of your favorite
Deal.
books. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. I feel like most of the books you're going to give me is somewhere between the 1960s upwards. And some of the books I'm going to be giving you is somewhere between the 1400 to the maybe 1800. I'm trying to remember his name. And just scroll to the right. It's going to be a little further.
Where are we going with this?
I can't give it. Go to the left. Left. I can't be going crazy. Have I missed them? Go further left. Further right, sorry. Nope. Oh, there it is. Andrew Jackson. About 100 years, 200 years ago, Andrew Jackson. He shot or dueled 100 men in his lifetime, killed 100 men in his lifetime, and his deathbed, his only regret was that he didn't have more duels.
That's politics.
That's not politics. That's just duels.
I mean,
like if me and you,
they're two different worlds.
What if me and you had oh, I don't like this book, I don't like that book, let's go and duel, let's see who's right. That was his hobby. So we only have to go back 200 years, and this was a perfectly acceptable practice on figuring out whose argument was correct.
You know, I'm actually gonna give it a read, like the entire thought process that he went through.
Andrew Jackson?
Yeah. Might turn it into a poem.
He is really fascinating man.
I might turn it into a poem.
He is a really fascinating man. On his literally in his deathbed, just saying, "I wish I had more duels." It's only regret.
I would definitely give it a read. Like, I'd read more about him, and I'm actually gonna make it into a poem.
He's really good. Another really good president author to read is Theodore Roosevelt, who has this fantastic quote that I use a lot: "Speak softly and carry a big stick."
Oh.
There's even a great image that comes with it. There it is on the left.
Oh.
Isn't that a beautiful image? And his favorite dish was turtle soup.
Ew.
But he also has a really good book
Okay.
where he talks about how he overcame. What's that breathing like when you can't breathe properly? Asthma.
Asthma.
He overcame asthma by just training hard enough.
Seriously?
That's what he said. Yeah.
I'm surprised medical science doesn't know that.
Yeah, that's what he says. His favorite sport was this like brute sport that nobody plays anymore, and it was almost like a 8-kilo bag, like a ball,
Okay.
and you would throw it at each other, and whoever gets knocked down loses.
Oh, I've seen it in like one of the Netflix series or something.
That was his favorite sport.
I think they should bring it back.
And Andrew Jackson too, with his dueling as well. Let's have it all back.
No, I mean we can bring him back just for fiction, but not in real life. Just keep him where he is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when you brought up that 6 death things, you only have to go back to 100 years where that was a perfectly acceptable thing. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, have you heard of Bonnie and Clyde?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've written a lot of poems on them.
I'm not surprised. Well, weren't they? I mean, Bonnie and Clyde were like lesbians, right? That is true.
They were actually psychopathic killers.
Yes, who were Well, are you saying the incidental part,
Yeah.
or they were lesbians and incidentally psycho killers, or are you saying the reverse?
I'm saying the reverse. I'm like,
Were they 2 girls, or was
no,
it?
it was a male and female.
Oh, it was a male and female.
Yeah.
My mistake. I thought it was 2 women. Huh. Rural funeral homes is what they robbed. My God, classic criminals. Class C.
The car they died in, was owned.
No, he did not.
Yes.
What happened to the car now?
Somewhere his divorce.
Yeah, it's probably someone who has it like in their living room and just stares at it. Oh well, you know what? They used to know how to live life.
Have you ever written about Jane Austen? If you.
Oh, that feminism stuff.
No.
I know Jane Austen, and didn't she get like? Aren't feminists hating her at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put her on the £10 note bill now.
I kind of write about something I find like, they have a good backstory.
Tell me, let's hear it. Tell me about this Jane Austen story.
So the whole poem was based on the contrast again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, maybe it was when these feminists started like going against her, like, just the whole
Those
image
damn
of it.
feminists.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was like, the whole poem is about like, yeah, you know what? Maybe she's not the bad person, right? Maybe we're seeing it through a different lens. And then it contrasts with saying, maybe she is the bad person and you have the right lens on.
Okay.
But at the end, it goes like, or maybe it's just that we all use different lenses because we can't see the same things with different eyes.
Okay.
So that's the whole poem. It revolves around that idea. Like, there's a good part to it, there's a bad part, and then there's like, I'll leave it to you.
That sounds like I don't know. Like, I hate when it's like when like intellectual like ideas or constructs are like portrayed in such like a Play-Doh manner. No?
So you like poems or stories that are very straightforward?
No, not that. Type in Marcus Aurelius. Let's look at some god level writers. By the way, Marcus Aurelius' book on meditation was his private journal. It was never meant to. First of all, do you know who Marcus Aurelius is?
I've heard of him, but
Emperor of Rome.
Okay. So you really are like in the 80s and BCs.
Absolutely. That's when like the best of the best was going around.
You're in a whole different world.
Can you type in quotes and just read some of the like Aristotle has a beautiful one. Lovers are one heart with 2 heartbeats.
Read that one.
See, that was from Aristotle. I mean, this isn't poetry. This is just quotes, but whatever.
You fly towards the stars and see yourself running. Kind of like
That's the second one. Is nice.
Kind of like the third one. It's kind of simple, but yeah, gets to the point. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Everything you hear is an opinion, not fact. Everything we see is a
perspective,
perspective, not
not
truth.
truth.
That's cute, right?
Yeah. Should read more of AC and AE and BC.
You'd be surprised. You'd be
Yeah.
really surprised. Like the way that somebody can capture how modern life is, considering that he was born more than 2,000 years ago.
There was a poet who his entire art was based off people who lived in the 80s and like the BCs, right?
Okay.
And he would write about that era in his poems, and he would portray like how literature has to be carried on, and it has been living like since the very beginning of time. And sometimes you say something like his, I think, I'm not sure who the poet was.
By the way, the story Atlantis comes from a poem.
Really?
Yeah, can you type it in, Danny? I forgot the name of the author. Oh, I think it was Homo? Hey, you know what? It was a different time back then. Homer? Yeah, Homo. See? I'm saying it wrong, definitely.
There's a whole poem.
Homo. That's him. That's the author, Homo, yeah. But can you go just on, like, if you just go on images,
That's about the real Homo, this one.
the author's, the name of the author is Homo.
It's maybe a pen name.
I'm telling you. Or who wrote Atlantis?
Rex.
Plato. My mistake.
He's again like the 80s and the BCs.
Well, yeah. You don't know your history.
I mean, I kind of like stick to what I like.
Socrates.
No, I'm gonna go into the history.
Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Alexander the Great.
You know the sequence for it.
I think that's a sequence. I might have gotten it wrong. But yeah. No?
I think I should get into my history.
You should.
Yeah.
Socrates was super interesting because he didn't believe in writing things down.
I think the writing styles kind of differ also. Like the English they had back then and the English we have right now.
Well, they didn't have English then. They had ancient Greek.
No, I'm speaking about like the poets of the 60s and the 50s.
Yeah. Terminology and words that they
Yeah.
used were completely different. I'm trying to think if there's. I'm trying to keep it relevant to you now. What is there? No Man is an Island. Can you type that in? When was that written? I think it was definitely in this century, this millennia. I was close. It was this millennia at least.
That's very close, yeah. Like,
Can you open the poem so she can read it? I don't think it is a poem.
John.
Yeah. Show me the Old English. No man is an island entire into
Are you a
itself.
fan of Old English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the morrow.
I like how I sometimes in my poems as well use third person, like in most of the poems in the 60s and stuff they use third person references.
Perspective.
Yeah, I use that as well sometimes.
I'm looking forward to reading it now.
Yeah.
I'll buy both copies on Amazon, and so should you.
No, I'll send you.
No, it's already bought. Done deal. The manner okay, wait. No, fuck it. Let's just read the New English. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main. If a cod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the lesser, as well as if a promontory were, as well as any manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never sent to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee.
God, I gotta sit and read it and process it in my head. I'm tired of itself. Okay, I like the first line, to be honest. No man is an island entire of itself.
Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main.
I had a quote that was kind of reminds me of this that said, it's the galaxy that matters. The Earth is just a part of it.
I like that.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me of this. Like
Isn't it weird that people have the same thoughts?
Yeah, but just like you write it differently.
Oh, sure. Do you know what it means by the bell tolls for thee?
Let me find it.
The last sentence.
Okay, so does it mean that therefore it never sends to known for whom the bell tolls? Okay, it can be a different meaning. Like
I'll explain it to you. Like you helped me earlier.
Yeah.
With the
Is
Red
there
Barn.
like a translation, or is it like your perception?
No, it's a real meaning.
Okay.
Not like you were like, oh, okay. Let me get up then. Oh, therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Because back in the day, when you'd hear the bell ringing in church, which would mean somebody's passed away and a burial is happening, as a church and as the village we got bigger, you'd hear it more often. You'd be like, oh, whatever, you know.
Oh.
And so you'd just be like, it was just another sound, and that's why it sells. For therefore never send to know.
The bell tolls. Oh, it
For whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee.
has a good opening.
Yeah.
And
Nice, right?
yeah.
Kind of goes
Like
a little
this
bit
one.
full circle,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's kind of like fun when a poem or a book goes in a full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to find one or two that I know that go in full circle.
I don't like endings that like you know some authors or some poets, they leave the ending for the reader's view.
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy that.
That's how ancient screenplay used to be.
Okay, we're going ancient again.
I'm sorry, you brought it in because like modern literature is written in 3 arcs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Intro, transition, outro, or beginning, middle,
You can say
end.
climax.
And in the ancient world, there was only first act and second act, because the audience would leave, and it should be their responsibility on how they want to like.
So do you like that?
I don't like cliffhangers,
That's what I'm talking about.
but it's something very different between a cliffhanger
I mean,
and an open-ended question.
An open-ended question also, like, isn't that like a cliffhanger? Like, you're gonna be like, okay, what happens after it? Like, there can be different endings to it, different endings you can put in.
Sure, but back then it was a little different, because you'd hear stories from, like, you know, your local tavern or wherever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, and they also put on big shows and stuff like that back then, but it wasn't like to the level of like movies today where millions of people watch it. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, imagine
You were much closer to the creator.
So imagine you watching a movie and then it just ends there, and the director's like, you know, just make an ending for yourself.
Yeah, but the difference is that back then you could actually go and speak to that director.
Yeah, but now you can.
Exactly. I think that is the big difference between the two.
So do you like cliffhangers?
I don't like cliffhangers.
Do you like open-ended questions
I think so.
or a full circle?
I don't like being. I don't like spoon-fed. Spoon fed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't think I'm right with that?
I mean, yeah, but then you're not exactly being spoon-fed. If you have a full circle, you can still make a different meaning to the poem.
Different meaning to the poem. Okay.
So you just have to like make sure that it relates to you at some level, and maybe the poem is not written about the topic you're relating to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, for instance, I can write a poem about a honeybee. I write a poem about like anything. I can write a poem about watermelon bubblegums. I've written poems about.
I like that watermelon bubblegum.
Yeah, I've written poems about watermelon bubblegums.
That's cute. I like that.
I've written poems about Chinese bread.
Oh, I like that too.
I can write poems about anything. So like, and somehow people are like, yeah, you know, that's relatable. Whereas it's like completely not written about them, but it makes sense to them. So why not?
I think I might know a poem that you might like, and it's from this century. In fact, it's even from not this decade, but close to this decade.
Okay, you found one.
Can you type in Carl Pinkelton, Danny? And caveman poem?
I've read the Caveman poem.
Yeah, you have?
Yes, I have.
From Carl Pinkelton?
Yes.
I'd rather be. What was it?
It was like very trending in between.
If
and
moths
my
had,
feet-
if moths had eyes, would they be happier? How do they know they're not dead? Cavemen hunting for food, but not before they style their hair on their head. What would last longer in dinosaur times? A blind man didn't stand a chance. Not with all those rocks about. I would rather be a blind moth.
Exactly. Poems like these, I enjoy reading them. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have its full circle though.
It doesn't have a full circle, but it's like if you just blankly read it, it would be like it's about a moth. It's just gonna be like that if you have no perception.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, if it makes sense to you, like I relate to it, so you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, I kind of like the poem.
Did he read the jellyfish one?
By?
Oh, same guy.
No, I have written about a jellyfish as well.
So let's see who's better. Put his jellyfish on and you find yours.
Okay.
Just go one back and then just change it to jellyfish. Are you having fun so far?
Yep. Are you?
Yeah, otherwise I would be like, all right, time to finish up. Take care. Bye-bye.
Found mine.
All right, did you find it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear yours first.
Okay.
Move closer to the mic. Let's hear it. Let's hear the professional.
Okay. So there was a jellyfish who had a transparent soul. People asked it to undress, but the jelly was unsure. So it drifted far away and undressed, then joined its bloom, a bloom where it belonged. This is the opening to Undressed.
Oh, now that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing here is there was a jellyfish who had a transparent soul.
Mm-hmm.
People asked it to undress, but the jelly has no skin on. Like, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So the jelly was unsure.
So the moment then it was invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it drifted far away from those people and it joined a bloom where it felt like it belonged.
But how did it join a bloom if the other bloom was invisible too?
It didn't feel like it belonged there.
Or did it just join another bloom and just was like hiding out?
No. It felt like sometimes you are invisible to a group of people. Like you are present in the conversation, but you feel like you're invisible.
I like that. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah. And you're just like, you're talking, you have everything, you go out, you hang out, but you just feel like you're not there. Right? And then you find there's another group of people where you don't even talk, but you feel like, yeah, you belong there.
That now you're invisible and those those ones are invisible. But you know somehow they're there. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Right. For the man, the myth, the legend himself, I will try to read it.
Better.
I don't like jellyfish. They're not a fish. They're just a blob. They don't have eyes, fins, or scales like a cod. They float about, blind, stingy people in the sea, and no one eats jellyfish with chips and mushy peas. Get rid of them.
I like the ending. I like the ending.
It's so aggressive.
It's like, get rid of them. So yeah, I mean, I like that better.
I like yours. I like yours.
This is more intellectual kind of feel.
That's why I like yours a little better. This one is
It's
literally
aggressive. It's just like, just get rid of them.
that poem is just literally about jellyfish. Is that still a poem though?
Yeah.
Do you not see that as a paragraph?
Actually, I have people, sometimes they like text me or they ask me like, we want to start writing poems, but we don't know how exactly to start, right? Because they think that poetry is something you have to use sophisticated words or there has to be a rhyming sequence. There are different kinds of poetries out there, by the way. Like haiku is one of them, right? There's a rhyming sequence.
I like how you're telling me. I know this. Yeah, okay.
No, it's just for anyone who doesn't know, right?
Okay.
So they text me like, how do you write? Like, and I'm like, what do you mean by how do you write? Like, they're like, is there a thought process that you have to go through? Or is there like stepwise process or something? And I'm like, you sit, you type down what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what if it's not like, it doesn't rhyme or something? I'm like, see, it's not about the rhyming, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just put out words. And if you feel like, okay, there's something missing between 2 lines or 3 lines, right? Just slip a few lines in between. And it becomes a whole poem. Try it.
I've never written a poem.
You should try.
I feel like I will never live up to the great man himself.
I mean, you don't have to be as great as them, but
No, I think I will be a poor understudy.
yeah, you can like just write something. Not, I mean, you can give a try for the jellyfish, but
I'll try the Andrew Jackson with 100 duels. That's what I'll try.
yeah, you give it a try, and I'll give it a try, and then we can like compare.
Compare, yeah?
Yeah.
I have a sense of feeling that yours is going to be a lot better.
No one's to judge.
You're beating me with
We
experience.
can literally crop that part out.
It's fine. Who cares? But yeah, I'll send you some of like, he used to do a radio show, right?
Yeah, I've stalked you for a bit.
You stalked him for a bit?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he doesn't produce anything. He does a TV show now.
Who are you talking about?
Carl.
Oh no,
I'm talking about Carl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does a TV show
Yeah.
and a radio.
What's it called?
He did two. One was Idiot Abroad.
No idea.
Like, if you think that poem was funny,
Yeah.
he talks like that in real life.
Yeah, you just gave me a few
No.
sentences.
But he's like he used to do a radio show for like 5 or 6 years, and that's just how he would talk.
The poem actually is called a descriptive poem, by the way.
Okay.
And descriptive poems are meant to be exactly what you see. Like this mic, it's black. It has a green light and a red light thingy at the corner. I just described like what I see.
But how is that a poem? How is that not just a paragraph?
It's a poem.
So when does something become a poem then for you? When the author says it?
No. When you give fluidity and when something actually smoothly transitions, right? There's like, so when you read a novel, you have breaks of paragraphs. Or a paragraph is the continuation of a particular scene, right? But in a poem, when you're mentioning a point of view or an object or anything, right? There is fluidity to it.
Okay.
And it doesn't break off, or it doesn't have to be dragged to end into like, it doesn't need to have like a specific like a storytelling or something in it. It's compact, but it makes sense.
Okay. But
So you can write something that can be like 30 liners or 40 liners, but as long as it resembles one of the laws of poetry, it will fall into poetry. Like this one was a descriptive one.
C.T. Eliot's, like, some of his poems are like pages.
Yeah, exactly. You can write pages. You can write pages on poems. I have written poems that are like pages long, but it still falls under poems because it obeys the laws of poetry.
Okay.
And you have certain laws, like you need to find in which category you fall in.
Okay.
And once you've like found your category, stick to it, write in that.
So I mean, this comes back to the main question again. Like where you're centered at the moment in the earth, what's all happening? Aren't you really not considering to do a pen de plumb in order to bring out subjects that you would be otherwise scared to approach?
Initially, whenever I was like, I'm gonna put my work out there, I wanted to do it with myself being involved in it, like completely, like for who I am. I didn't want
Because a lot of your work has a lot of feministic notions to it,
Yeah.
especially women-centric.
Yeah.
And what's currently going on down there does not. I mean,
I have a lot of issues that I shouldn't be touching, but I am touching.
That's what
and
I'm
putting
saying.
it out there. So if I'm going to be judged for it or anything, I mean,
No, I'm worried that you're going to get defensed. Do you know what that word means? What does it mean?
brought down, like
No.
in a negative way.
Defensed means it's an old French word being thrown out the window, as in the literal sense. It was called defensing. Can you look that up, Dan? So I'm 100% sure that's how you pronounce it.
Like sit on the fence kind of defense.
Nope. Thrown out the window. French word.
I think it's spelling it wrong, maybe.
100%.
Yeah.
So what are you doing in Bahrain then now?
I'm on vacations.
Oh yeah? How are you enjoying the vacation?
Pretty good.
Just French word thrown out the window.
I think it should be with an S and not a C, maybe.
So how are you enjoying your vacation so far?
To be honest, pretty good.
Oh
so
yeah?
far.
What have you been doing? What have you been seeing?
I've been writing most of the time, reading, Doing some bits of my work too, university stuff and all.
So what do you not like? What's the story now? You don't want to be like a full-time novelist or author?
I enjoy medicine. I enjoy physics. I enjoy writing. There's a lot of things I want to do. So I just kept one thing as my main career, and the others are like just they fall along, right?
Dan found it. What is it? Defenestrate? Defenester? Defenester?
Just to say it in the French accent.
I don't know what's that E with umlaut? De?
De. Yeah.
Defenestre?
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah. So maybe use a pen de plume.
What should I use?
What about if you use like an anagram?
Give me an example.
I need a pen and a paper.
I'm sure you
to do an anagram. How does an anagram usually work? Isn't it that they take the first and the last letter and then they flip it? No? And then they try to make it into a
something that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's a name, so it doesn't have to really make a lot of sense, no?
I mean, if I had one.
Like what?
Like a pseudonym.
Let's hear it.
Maybe keep it Deborah.
Deborah? Don't you feel it sounds too close to that disease? Debola?
No.
Deborah, Debola? Okay.
Deborah.
Deborah. Maybe D and then space Bora.
A lot of the female poets actually had a pseudonym, but the names were like
men names.
Men names. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to do that. That's old school. That's old school.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
You can go around being Adam Smith.
Yeah, I can go around and then when like they call me
Adolf.
and then they call me up and they were like, we expected a male and like female. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
My parents had a sick sense of humor. That's why they called me Adolf.